Well, this is Baruch Fleischman. I'm here at the Tikkun Elevator Colo. I think, yeah, where I'm out of town, so a little bit discombobulated. Try to get together to say some shiurim here. This is Parshas Shelach. And as we know, this is a big time parsha because of all the things that happened within it, the spies, Eretz Yisrael, so on and so forth. The Zohar starts like this. This Zohar is got a lot to it. V'yadaber Hashem al Moshe Lemor. So this is the way the parsha starts. Shelach l'chol Hashem v'yasuru es Eretz Canaan. So send out men, let them spy out the land of Canaan. And we're getting onto all of the words here because the Zohar itself wants to talk about certain ideas, which I'm not sure I follow, but we'll try to do the best that we can. It's Rebbe Chia Pasuk. So Rebbe Chia, in order to try to explain this, says that, quotes, Iyuv. I noticed that the Zohar uses Iyuv a lot of different places as side references. In your days, did you ever, I guess, see that the days were, the morning was commanded? Yadata Shachar Makoma, does the morning know its place? Now, this could be a very poetic sense of words. He says that actually Shachar Ksiv, really, and the hay that goes with this word Hashachar, here it is. He says it's Rachakach the Shachar, it's really far away from the morning. Now, what does that mean? My time. So then that's what's the reason? Now, in order to get this, let's see this little piece right here. I guess it skipped it. The Matik writes, Pirish HaPasuk move it along. The Kodesh Baruch Hu Omer L'Iyud, the Iyub. So Kodesh Baruch Hu says to Iyub, Hamiyamechot Savitza Boker. In Miyom Shenoladato, from the day that you were born, he says, Savisa es Hashemesh Yair es a Boker. Did you command the the sun, to shine and make morning? Yadata Hashachar Mekomo. Hayudata, did you know? Es Makom Hashemesh. Hamevi has Hashachar, the place of the sun that brings the morning. Very difficult to understand. What was he talking about here? This is over there. You have to look. It's like expression of Hashem speaking to Iyov. Let's see what the Zohar says. And we have a little Matuk B'Devash, and then down below the Matuk B'Devash, we're going to have a little richness that's going to come into this from the Holy Ari. V'yadabech Hashem el Moshe Lemor is our quote again. Shlach l'cho anashim v'yisura es Eretz Canaan. This is how it goes on. And spy out the land of Canaan. So he says, in order to explain this, Rebbe Chia said, Hiktin the Farish Masha Kazav. So he wants to explain this pasuk. Let's see what this pasuk has to do with our parsha. Amiya Machal Savitza Boker, from your days, the days which are Yudato Hashachar Makoma, the Yudato, does the morning know its place? In a Shachar Kasiv, he says, really, the way it's written is Kasiv. Kasiv Hu Shachar. The hay is Rachaka Mishachar, but the hay is distance away from the concept of the morning. Now, I really don't know what this means. The only thing I know about the hay is that if you talk about the final hay, it's a feminine quality, and it's a receptacle, it's malchus. So, but I'm not sure what he means here. Oz ha-hay merocheches mimilas shachar. So where does it go? The muchuberes the mala, but really it belongs to be tied up to a phrase up above in tevis yudati or yudat. So in other words, let's see what it said up above. It says you said here it says hayudato, should have been there too. Should have been over here. That's what it says. Vashoil, my time, amagu atam. So he says, he now tshuva he besod amud. So we'll find this later as we get a little bit further down in the Zohar, if we can get to it. Now we're going to get into some other different ideas. The way that the Zohar goes, it poses a question, perhaps at the beginning. And then it goes into many, many different styles. So let's see what happens now. Now, the Matuk says, in order to understand what we're talking about here, because the whole thing is really very seriously mystical. Let's say we don't know what it is. So Kedei Lachavi in Maimer Abbas and understand the Nakni Masha Kasav Rizal. So let's see what the Rizal says. He says, where you find this? You say in Shar Kabbanas in the Indian Tefillin. Okay, now for those of you who listened to the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, we went and we spent several months going through the Uri on Tefillin. So let's see what he's going to say, and let's see how much we can remember from those shiurim. Lashona b'kitzer. Inei b'kol tefillah. Every time that's a chakras, mincha, marav, and chitzos. Every time we daven, we daven boim mochim chadash and lazon. More and mochim enter from the nai of Abba Ve'ima into Zeranpin and the Nukva. So this is basic Kabbalah here, and after every tefillah they leave, they go back. So we see this in different ways. The translation is, but even so that they leave, in other words, the depth that one achieves when they're davening Shemona Esrei and then in the three tefillahs, or saying the Kriya Shema at midnight. He says all of this. He says Zen Nishar. It leaves. He calls Zen Nishar Rishima, but it leaves an impression of itself, an essence, a portion of itself. Shalem B'Tov Zun Kol Hayom, the male and female qualities of the day. Hama'amid Osam Bashir Kumas Gadlusam, and what it does, it allows them to remain in the height of their, in the structure of their height, I guess in the stance of their height. So in other words, it has this rishima that's left over, has a quality of godless. That's what we call of upper higher consciousness, the consciousness of God in the world. It remains with us, but only as a rishima. But then again, when we come to the nighttime, these rishimos that came from chakras and mincha, they leave completely. Rishima not only does Af also the Rishima leaves as well. Aval Rishima the Mochin the Nukva, but now we have another idea. There's a Rishima of the Mochin of the Nukva, Amistalik Memano that leave the Nukva. If you think back, if you were listening to those shiurim over there, Niknas the So Libo Shazer Anpin. So when the nighttime, what he wants to say is that the nighttime everything goes black. The Mochin pull out. Even the mochin, that is, even the mochin of Zeranpin, that is even the rishimo of the mochin of Zeranpin leaves Zeranpin, and it goes up on top of the head of Zeranpin instead. Whereas the rishimo of the nukva, that is left in the nukva as those mochin leave at nighttime, that goes instead, it goes to what? Niknas the sof libo shel Zeranpin, it goes into the heart of Zeranpin, which is a pasuk, place me as a seal on your heart. She doesn't want to leave Zeranpin. Her desire to be with Zeranpin is very powerful. It has something to do with with morning, what's going to come in the morning time. For now, we see that when the mochin leave at nighttime, mismatim zun migdulosam, then zun shrinks. He says, Zeranpin choizer the hiyos bebechinas vok. So the Gimel Rishon is of Zeranpin, which is Chochma Bina Das, is Chabad. It leaves, it's gone. It goes back into regular old Zeranpin with Mochin Dekatnas, which is also known as the Vav Kitzvos, Chesed Gevurah Tiferes Netzachot Yisod. That's all. He doesn't have a Chabad. V'nukve chozeres the hiyos besod nekuda ketana belvad, and she goes back and she's just a dot now. Instead of being at the height of Zeranpin, she's now a dot. So therefore, the arousal of the dinim takes place at nighttime. So since we have the rishimos have left, what is to protect the neshama of the person at nighttime? Now, know this too. These are facts that we need to know, and we learn this, of course, in different places in the Sharkavanos. The yichud that takes place at that time, for the purpose of being shlemus into the world, is not between Yaakov and Rachel, which is the ultimate yichud, between the male power and the female power. He lokeches teishes spheres the Rachel b'shayla, and then Leah, who is really only from the chest upward, from the chazal, she now is going to take a rishima or something. She takes the 9 spheres of Rachel b'shayla. She takes them, she borrows them. Now that means that the space, what it means to say, and I'm not sure that I really understand this exactly, because it seems like a shtickle stira, and I'll tell you why. Because Rachel goes down into Bia, to the lower worlds during the nighttime. When we're sleeping, she leaves us and goes down to the lower worlds. In the upper world, the only part that's left of her in the upper world, that is in the world that is attached to Atzilus, is her Kesser. So that's the only part that remains. Now that Kesser is a player in what happens in the rest of the morning. Now he says that since there's a vacuum that's created between Leah, which is above the chest, and Rachel, who is below the chest, and Rachel's gone, Leah fills that spot. And the words for this, Vehi lokeches teishes spheres the Rachel b'shayla. She borrows the 9 spheres of Rachel. The spheres of Keser shall Rachel, then the sphere of the Keser of Rachel, shehi shorish ha'atzmos shaba, which is really the one sphere that's left, which is the sphere of Keser, which is the highest, which is really the root of all the essence, her essence. He says, Shabbat Yoredis, the Bria goes down into Bria, the Heichul Kodesh Gadashim, to the highest place in Bria. Vomedesham ad or haboker. So now Leah has filled up the entire space where Rachel used to be. And let me read this again, because I don't think I ever knew this before. So let's just read this little part again. Rachel shehi shorish atzmo shabah, Yoredis the Bria, the Heichul Kodesh Gadashim. So Rachel, her Kasser, goes down at this point, the nighttime, all the way in, it goes there, which is the root of everything in Rachel, and it goes down into Bria. So he sham ad or haboker, and stays there until the morning. So all the time from the middle of the night, until the morning light, who yosheves mizameres v'kora el zer anpin. She sits there, she sings songs, and she's calling to Zer Anpin, who is still in Atzilus. She longs for him. V'mazameret v'koreh el Zer Anpin b'sot Elokim al demiloch. So that's a pasuk. He says, Elokim, who could be like unto you? In other words, she's saying all of this because the word Elokim, for whatever reason, the word Elokim, which normally means din, and she's the depository of din, but she's saying Elokim. I think she's speaking to Zer Anpin, who could be compared to you. That kind of praise. But in the morning time, what happens? Olin the kudas a kesser shalom atzilas. Her little dot. That little dot moves back into Atzilus. Through our prayers, she grows up. Ki Leah chozera the makoma achre Zer Anpin melachol lamala, and Leah goes back on the back of Zer Anpin. She goes back to her position. And she's now back in her position, which is from the chest upwards of Zer Anpin. Now, if you're not familiar with this is that Zer Anpin, in his greatness, Zer Anpin can either be cotton or, which is 6 kitzvahs, which can be divided into 10, because you have to understand there's always 10 spheros here. But 10 spheros of continence, and continence is only 6 spheros. You have to work on that a little bit. So he says the Zer Anpin, mechazet Zer Anpin is, let's say, your whole body. And from the nape of your neck, or from the top of, of your neck, going down to your chest, is a place which is called Leah, in the spiritual world, the world of Zer Anpin. And from the chest downwards, all the way down to the bottom, is Rachel. This is a place of Rachel. Now, if people don't know that, this is an understanding to understand this. So that therefore, when people are learning Torah, when this happens to them, Bnei Yisrael are now getting up at midnight. This the Zohar speaks about this all the time, and Rabbi Nachman speaks about it all the time. The Kabbalists like this idea. If you could do this, getting up at midnight and learning Torah, getting up at midnight and saying the Kriya Shema, is a tremendous, powerful effect of what's going to happen in the rest of the day. Hey, amosifim ba koach. This adds a tremendous amount of koach that makes it possible for Malchut, for the Kesser of Malchut, on all the rest of the spheres of Malchut, but Kesser is the root of all of them, it's beneath to all of them. To bring that Kesser back into its Tzilos, these prayers that you do at this time of night, you have to believe this, have a tremendous ability to sweeten up the day and to bring strength to Rachel. And through the course of the davening, this little dot of the Kesser grows up into a whole stature of Rachel, who is now able to turn around and be face to face with Zer Anpin. Face to face is Lashon Yichud, means that this is the place where they manage to make. The Nikashera Bezroa, she becomes tied to his arm, a smallest, the left arm, a Nikras Gevura. So this is also her natural place. She comes face to face on the left side of Zer Anpin. Women are basically made out of Gevuros. They make children, they make things. Makers are Gevuros. And so don't fight with your wife because she's a Gevura. That's all she is. That's her nature. And you're gonna lose. So you had to know that. So the Ksheres Bezroa small as a Nikras Gevura, Va'al Zeh, Ne'emesim Menika Hosem Azarecha, so then it changes from Hosem al Libecha, which was when it was only Rishimo of the Nukva went to the heart. Now over here we're saying now it's going to be a special place sealed on your arm, but so the tefillin shal yad, and that is the tefillin that becomes a tefillin yad for Zer Anpin, of the tefillin shall rosh the nukva. So it says like this. He says it is true that Zer Anpin is the man. The man puts on the tefillin. So the tefillin are put on, but those tefillin are actually in the same place as the head of Rachel. So therefore, it says what? So shall yeder tefillin shall rosh lenukva. So it becomes the tefillin of the head of the nukva. This is Baruch Fleischman. This has been a little bit mystical. It's a tikkun elevator kola.